Okay. We're on the bottom of Nun Vav Amud Aleph, on the bottom of 56a, and we'll start from the Mishnah. So, Yom Tov HaSamach LaShabbos, the Yom Tov, which is connected to Shabbos, Bein Lefnei Bein Lachara, whether it's a Shabbos that falls out a day before Sukkot, or it's the Shabbos that falls out the day immediately after Shemini Atzeres. We learned in the previous Mishnah that the 24 Mishmarim all showed up, the 24 houses of the priests. So each of them had 1 week during the. Each of them had 2 weeks during the year, a weekend, 1 week and 1 week. Each of them only had 1 week during the year. Each of them had 2 weeks during the year, but they all showed up when it came to the Shalosh Regalim, the Sukkot, Pesach, and Shavuos, and they all equally partook in any.
Put your teeth on your dresser.
They all partook in the giving of the Lachem Panim. Each kohen who showed up of all 24 Mishmarim got Lachem Panim. Now Lachem Panim even a little bit satiated someone, totally filled them up. Therefore, wasn't the problem. Everyone was able to have a kazayis, even though it was 24 times the regular amount of kohanim present. Now, also, if Shabbos fell out before Sukkot, or Pesach, or Shavuos, or immediately fell out afterwards, all the kohanim had to be present because you couldn't travel on Shabbos. Even though it's true it wasn't Yom Tiv, and it wasn't part of the festivals, and therefore really the kohanim, only the one mishmar, the one watch, should be the one receiving the lechem panim and also the other offerings. But in this case, in order for them not to go hungry, they're sort of homeless in a way because they had to show up before Shabbos and no place really to eat. So the rabbis ordained that they should also get equal amount, just like on the holidays. Now, what happens if, for example, Shemini Atzeres was on a Thursday, then there was a Friday, which technically gave them enough time to get out of Yerushalayim, at least start traveling, and then it was Shabbos, so it's only 1 day to travel. So still, it's not the biggest amount. So there will be a leftover. A lot of kohanim would stay over, or the other way around. In order to get to Yerushalayim, they needed more than 1 day to travel. So if Sukkot, the first day of Sukkot was a Monday, and they all showed up on before Shabbos because they couldn't travel the one Sunday possible. Therefore, in that case, we still feel bad for them, and so the mishmar, whose watch it is that they're supposed to be there, they get 10 of the chalas, and the other kohanim only get 2. And the ones who stay around, who are there early, who are staying late, they go ahead and they get they split the 2 among them equally. How does it work with the lechem panim through the rest of the year? The incoming watch took 6 because they used to switch on Shabbos. So it seems like on Shabbos they stuck around. Shabbos was the overlap. That the one would come in Friday and the other one would be leaving Vayitzei Shabbos. So the ones who came in took 6, and the ones that went out took 6. So they equally split it. The lechem panim every week was split between the outgoing mishmar and the incoming mishmar. Rabbi Yehuda held no. The ones coming in took 7, and the ones leaving had 5. The ones who were coming in split in the north. And the ones who left they split. They got their portion in the south. Now the reason why the ones coming in were in the north, because the north part of the section of the Beis Hamikdash is where the kabbanis were offered, and this is sort of showing to the congregants, everyone who's in the Beis Hamikdash, to show that this is a new mishmar. They're splitting it in where they usually sacrifice the animals, and therefore people will understand that they are going to start doing the service in the upcoming week. Bilga cholekes bedarim. One of the 24 mishmarim, one of the 24 houses were called Bilga, and she always received in the south as a punishment. But tabata kavua, and her rings were tied. The rings that were used they used to tie down the animals with these large metal rings, and so her rings were not used. But chalena stuma, and her window was closed. The window where they used to pass out the knives, she had to borrow someone else's. Yeah, we're by the Gemara.
Yeah. I'm slightly thrown there. All of a sudden we switched to
feminine pronoun, are we referring to a person or an object that's...
No, we'll see in a minute why it was called Bilga. The group was called Bilga. We'll see soon.
We're not placating the obnoxious thought belief of the city of Portland, then, are we?
No, maybe we are. But no, that was the name of the, whatever the reason was, that was the name. Yeah, no, that was the name of the group, Bilga. That was the name of the house.
We gotta defend the Beit HaMikdash against the PC culture just as much as against the Romans.
Says the Gemara. So the Gemara asks, what was before and what was afterwards, right? Meaning, when the Gemara started off saying Yom Tov Asamach Shabbos Bein Mufnei Bein Achara, the Gemara said the Yom Tov for Shabbos, whether it was after or before. What exactly is after or before? So the Gemara thinks Ilay Mufnei Yom Tov Rishon Achara Yom Tov Achara. It means to say is that Yom Tov was Friday, and Shabbos, which is Yom Tov itself. We're talking about the Shabbos immediately after Yom Tov started, or immediately before Yom Tov ended. That Shabbos in the middle of the holidays. So obviously, of course, everyone's going to get the equal portion. There's no difference between that day and the other day. So we meant to know. So we meant to say Elifnei Yom Tov and Achron Lachara Yom Tov Rishon. And we meant to say that before it, we mean to say after. No, we mean to say that it's a Shabbos before Yom Tov itself. My time up. What's the reason we split it? Since they had no choice but to come early, or they had no choice but to come late. Therefore, they had no choice but to come early, or they had no choice but to stay late. So Chazal, Misakin, they ordained that they should take a portion from the Lachem Apanim and also the other communal offerings, just like they did during the Yom Tov itself. Okay. Now we are on the last line of Nun Vav Amud Aleph, and the Gemara says Chal Yoim Echad. We said what happens if there is if it falls out that there's one day in between. We turn to the top of Nun Vav Amud Aleph. We turn to the top of 56b. Hanitarti Ma'av Desayu. So we ask, what is the reason that they got two? What's the reason for what? For what reason? Sorry, that's not the question. The question going on that we had a machlekes, right? We had a machlekes during the regular year. Every single Shabbos, we said one group gets 6, and when the outgoing goes 6 and incoming gets 6, we split it equally. However, Rabbi Yehuda held that one got 7 and one got 5, so it's 2 extra. So you say, why did they get 2 extra? Why is the incoming Zoicha merit to get the extra 2? So Rabbi Yitzchak, because they were closing the doors because they took over. So therefore, that evening they closed the doors. So because of that, they get an extra 2. And now we say v'nei dal b'dal. And I say, wouldn't it? So we're sort of asking a question like, why wouldn't the incoming make a deal with the outgoing and say at the end of the day we're getting 5 and then 7, and so at the end of the day it equals 12 anyway. So why don't we just do 6 and 6? Therefore, at least I'll get one more when I'll get one more less when I leave. I'll get one more I'll get one less when I come in, but I'll get one more when I leave. So it might be beneficial for me. I would say Amar Baya Butzina Taba Mikara, that a ripe cucumber is more dear to someone than a unripe squash or gourd. Now the squash is usually it's a little more expensive than a cucumber. But what I want someone to think, I much rather something right now and get my benefit. I'd rather have my benefit right now than invest in the future. So that's the reason why they want that. We are on Nun Vav Amud Beis. We're on 56b, and we are 3 lines down. The last word on line is Amar Rav. So Amar Rav Yehuda U'Mesafim Chalkin. Now the Mishnah said not only did we end up splitting the Lechem Apanim, the showbreads, we also split the Musaf. The Musaf was also equally split among everyone, meaning the hold on. What do we say in the Mishnah? I don't. Mishnah really doesn't say it. Okay, so let's see. So Amar Rav Yehuda Musaf Chalkin. Now Rav Yehuda adds on to the Mishnah. The Mishnah didn't say this. We said that they split the. We said that during the year they only split the Lechem Apanim. We said nothing about the Musaf. We never said that the Musaf offering on Shabbos, when both of them were there, who got it? So Rabbi Yehuda, they split it equally as well. So Meisvei, we asked, Mishmara hayoytzi oise tamid shal shachar umusafin. We're about to go through a brisa that mentioned how it worked out, what group did what on that Shabbos. So Mishmara hayoytzi, the Mishmar that was leaving oise tamid shal shachar, they started off in the morning. They brought the tamid shal shachar, the communal offering in the morning, umusafin, and they also brought the musaf of Shabbos. Mishmar hanichnases, the Mishmar that was leaving. The Mishmar that was leaving did the morning services with the Musaf. The Mishmar, the watch that was leaving, that was coming in, they started off with the afternoon services. They brought the communal offering, the daily communal offering in the afternoon, and they did the Ketayres, like a tani. But mentions nothing about splitting of the Musafim. So we have Rabbi Huda that claims that they also split the Musafim on Shabbos. The Musafim, which was offered in the morning or early afternoon, that was split equally between the incoming watch and the outgoing watch. Over here, we have a brisa that mentions nothing about the Musafim. It looks like the outgoing watch who did the service on the Musaf, they kept it entirely. Now we're saying Hatanim b'chaluk like a Mario. That's not a good proof because that brisa is not mentioning about anything they skipped. They split because it doesn't mention about the lechem apanim either, and they split the lechem apanim. That's solely focusing on items which are not split. The outgoing did the morning services, and the incoming did the afternoon services, and we didn't mention anything about if we split it or not. Now, Amar Rava, Batani Beit Shmuel, but Rava said we have a memor in the name of Shmuel. The Ma'ir b'chaluka u'musafim. That does talk about the splitting of the musafim, and a cholkin like a tani. That he talks about splitting, and he talks about bringing the musaf, and he doesn't mention that we split the musaf. What is the case? The Tani Beit Shmuel. So we have the following brisa: Mishmar hayotzes, that the mishmar, the watch that was exiting the Beis Hamikdash. Oisa tamish shel shachar. First they did the tamish shel shachar because it was still it was the morning, so they still were working. Umusaf, they also brought the musaf. Mishmar hachnechneses, the mishmar that was incoming for that week. Oisa tamish shebein harbayim. They brought the tamid of the afternoon. Ubezichin, and they also brought the spices or the ketayers. Arba kaihanim hayu b'nechaftin sham. They had 4 kaihanim. They took 2 from each mishmar, and they split the lechem upon it. Now, so we see the Mishnah talks about the musaf because we said that in the morning they did the musaf. We also mentioned that we split the lechem upon him, so we spoke about the musafim and we spoke about the splitting, and we never mentioned anything about that we also split the musaf. And the ilu musafim like a tani. So it doesn't mention anything about the musaf. So it points to Rabbi Yehuda being wrong. Rabbi Yehuda claimed that on Shabbos, when both watches were there every week, and they split also the musaf offering, and that we say, which sort of logically it makes sense because think about it, the outgoing did the morning service, did the tamid shebein arbaim, the incoming did the tamid shel, the incoming did the morning communal offering. The outgoing did the morning communal offering. The incoming did the afternoon communal offering from the musaf, which is straight down the middle. It might make sense to split. So logically, Rabbi Yehuda makes sense. But if you have a brisa that mentions splitting and mentions the musaf, it doesn't mention anything about splitting the musaf. Therefore, Rabbi Yehuda, the Gemara admits that Rabbi Yehuda must be wrong, and they did not split the musaf, and the musaf went to the one who serviced it, and that was the outgoing mishmar. Okay. Now we continue in the Mishnah. The Mishnah said that when they split the lechem apanim, they split it. The incoming did it in the north. Tanrabanan, and it says we have bring a following brisa. The incoming group took they ate or they took their portion of the lechem apanim in the north to show everyone that they are now sort of in charge of the Beis Hamikdash. So this is where the majority of the services took place in the north. Therefore, that's where they did it. And the ones going out was chaylik, they split it in the south. So everyone else sees that they are leaving. Okay. We are 2 lines up from the wide lines. So we ended up saying that Bilga was punished and she always had to take her portion in the south, which was very degrading. Because everyone else, it looked as if that she was never in the Beis Hamikdash because she was always leaving whenever she took it. Also, we said that her rings were closed, that she had to use the rings from a different,
So who is this person?
No, so Bilga is just the name of a watch. It's a household name. It's not the name of one person.
It's
the
a
name
group.
of a household. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got
Some
it, all right.
ancestor's name was.
That was your question. You said that. It's not the name of a priest. It's not the name of a priest. It's not the name of a priest. It's a house of Bilga. There you go. A house of Bilga.
Kollel or shutdown.
I get it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So Bilga lam chakas b'dar. Tan rabbanan. Now, so we're going to try to figure out now what was she? What was I'm saying she? But what was the watch being punished for? Tan rabbanan. Maisa bim Miriam bas Bilga. There's a story with Miriam from the household of Bilga. Shahamira dasas that she the Shemir dasas that she can't apostate. And she went to marry one of the princes or kings of the Greek empire. When the Greeks entered the Heichal at some point before the Hanukkah story, she took her foot and she kicked Al Gadi, she kicked the Mizbeach. Lucas and Masay Ata Michal Manish Yisrael. She called the Mizbeach a wolf. Wolf, until when are you going to be continually eating the funds of the Jews? Meaning, because it was not a cheap thing to keep the Beis Mikdash running. The Beis Mikdash required continuous offerings, and that was animals, and livestock cost money. And you're not even coming to save them in the time of need. Right now, we just stormed the Beis Mikdash and we broke through, and you did nothing to stop us. When the rabbis heard that, kavu es tavata, they locked up her rings. And they closed her windows, the windows which were used to pass out the knives to the Kaihanim as they in the Beis Mikdash. Now, some say a different story. Because Mishmar Teshaya Lava, the one time the Mishmar was very late in coming. They didn't show up on time. And a different, the next group, which was Yeshivav, or the previous group, the group that was waiting for them to take over, did not had to take over the service and continue in their stead. Now it's true. Usually there's a saying. There's a saying in Chazal, really Avos, that one Oile Rasha Oile Shechena, woe to the woe to his neighbor, because usually the neighbor will be affected. Shecheni Bilga Nishcharu. In this case, the neighbors of Bilga, meaning the group that immediately preceded them, gained. Shebilga la'olam chalekes b'daraim yishovav acha b'tzafim. They gained because Bilga was always in the south, and Yeshivav was always in the north. So it was more of a Yeshivav always had, when they received their portion, even when they were leaving, they received it in the more prestigious location in the north. Now Bishvil Manda Mishmarta Isha Lava. Now so we have two stories. One is either the reason they were punished is because of one daughter. One of the children of Bilga's family disgraced the Mizbeach. Another one is because they came late. So if you come and tell me because the reason why they got punished because they came late, it makes sense that they all got punished because they all collectively came late. So they all collectively got punished. Mishmar Elamandam or Miriam Bas Bilga Shamira Dasa. But if the whole story is because of one one single daughter that became an apostate and did a terrible act, Lady Day. So we said, does that make sense? Because of one person, the entire collective house gets punished? That's not fair. And yes, like people say, that we say that if a child acts up does a terrible thing in the marketplace, we could go ahead and say it must be from the father and the mother. We say so the apple does not fall far from the tree. That's the idea. Then we say, but on that mishum avua, the ema continue kula mishmara. But that's not fair either, because of one family within the group. So okay, so the father and daughter did not bring father and mother did not bring up the daughter correctly. But because of that one little family unit, the entire house has to be punished. We say the case of, in this case, we will say, woe is to the wicked, woe is to their neighbors. The neighbors will always get affected by it. And then we say, but on the other hand, is that great? It's great for it's all good things happen to the righteous, and good things, and that overspills to their neighbors as well. And with that, we have time, so we'll start Beya.